Hey everyone! Thanks for joining us today for another Althea community call. See some Cosmos guy and Mario here in the call today. It's good to see everybody. For those of you that don't know, I am Deborah Simpier. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hawk Networks, and Hawk Networks is one of the development teams behind Althea, which we're really excited to talk about today. Machine-to-machine microtransactions and payments, financing and new systems for telecom infrastructure and utilities. Been around for a minute. Starting back in late 2017, building these machine-to-machine payments for new ways of building telecom and broadband infrastructure now, of course, across 12 U.S. states and different countries, and variety of like 5G and fiber optic and many different kind of growing operations, mostly on the Gnosis chain, and now headed over with the build of Althea L1. And on Althea L1 is kind of make this machine-to-machine or machine economy and ecosystem we built, the iFi DEX or infrastructure finance DEX. It's not sort of combining DeFi with sort of legacy fintech ecosystem to create infrastructure finance. And I'm joined here today with co-founder Justin. If you want to say hi. And
hey. So yeah, it's exciting. It's been a while. We've been building a lot of different stuff. We often have a joke about how many startups we can fit in our startup. But this particular one, we're presenting what we've been working on for the past year, among many other things, is the iFi DEX. And so I've done a blog post about Althea L1, which is the L1 blockchain the iFi DEX is acting as the sort of, the sort of canonical DEX for the new chain, although not exclusively. You can deploy a different one if you want. And I've written a series of blog posts you can find on blog.althea.net that go over, the different properties of the iFi DEX, Althea L1, and sort of what we've been doing over this past 8 or so years that we've been developing micropayment and telecom software. So let's see. So Deb, should I dive right into the iFi DEX, or is there a little bit other stuff I want to start?
While you're getting that set up, just let folks know that if you have any questions, you can jump in there and ask on, whether you're joining on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter. Just let us know, and we'll get those questions answered for you as we go along. We'll show you how it works. If you want to get involved, there's still a few testnet tokens to go around, and you want to kick the tires. Let us know there in Discord, or for folks that already have testnet tokens, please do speak up and be part of this iteration of testing as we get things, really polished for unlock. So the Discord is where to, a good place to get to dive in. We also have a forum.althea.net if you have some ideas about developing things like new dexes or want to help be part of shaping the future of Althea. But yeah, go ahead, Justin. Let's take a look under the hood and learn a little bit about what we're calling Liquidity Fusion too, which is a new feature of iFi DEX. Oh, I cannot hear you anymore.
Oh, I muted myself. I have a hardware mute. Sorry. Give me a second while I get my screen up here. Here we are. So this is test.althea.link. It's a public site. You can go to it right now if you want to. And if you show up in Discord and ask for test tokens, we will send you some test tokens to play around with. Just a note, if you have any issues, please get your browser console and send them over to me. Generally, most of what we're seeing remaining issues with is different wallet support. Obviously I'm testing with MetaMask and Rabby, but people have different setups, and that's really where people are encountering issues. So if you have a weird wallet, if you have a wallet over carrier pigeon set up, I would be happy to make sure it works. Just shoot me a message.
Now, when the going gets weird, the weird go pro.
But anyways, so yeah, let's get started. So as you can see, Althea Link is kind of a super app for the DeFi functionality of Althea L1. So this includes everything from staking. Althea L1's a delegated proof of stake chain. We explain more about that both in the white paper and in the blog posts. And if you're looking for the white paper, you will find a link to it on the blog. So that might be helpful as well. So it has access to things like governance, even though this is like a one validator test. So here's a bunch of governance proposals. It's a one validator testnet, so the staking page isn't very interesting. But yeah, we're very close to launch on this, so we're just doing final testing. Now we have so when you receive testnet tokens, you're going to receive them on the on the ETH testnet that we're using for this. So you will actually have to bridge them to Althea over the Gravity Bridge testnet, because Althea 1 is using Gravity Bridge as its canonical bridge in production. So as you can see, we have an assets page, which helps you keep track of where stuff is, especially if you happen to sort of be wondering where something is in the bridging process. You would come here. We actually designed this page in response to people having a lot of confusion about where stuff was ending up with the bridge process in from Ethereum. And yeah, that's been one of our main focuses here, is that it should be really smooth to sort of for DeFi native people to be onboarded to Althea L1 DeFi. But like Deborah was referring to earlier, the sort of crypto focus, DeFi focus is not what Althea L1 is about, hence why we're calling this the iFi DEX. So infrastructure finance is what we are calling the next generation of DeFi. And it's where you are using DeFi primitives, you're using this enormous wealth of applications between like lending markets, DEXs, various DeFi protocols. But instead of just tokenizing existing real world assets, you are making real world assets on chain. So this ties into liquid infrastructure. Let me actually so if you go to docs.althea.net, you'll find this guide on liquid infrastructure here, which sort of describes how liquid infrastructure allows micropayment applications like the Althea routing and billing protocol that we've been working on and have deployed in so many places now, and turn them into a easier to manage tokenized revenue stream. And this helps deal with a lot of the practical concerns that you get when you're trying to really bring businesses on chain. So let's say you're managing something as seemingly simple as 1,000 vending machines that take stable coins. How do you manage all the private keys? With Althea L1, you create a representation of the account, a liquid infrastructure token that you can then use to store the revenue from all those vending machines, say, in one hardware wallet. So this really improves simplicity and provides a platform for new types of businesses being brought on chain and more effective operation. And that's what we call iFi, or infrastructure finance. So the iFi DEX has a dual purpose. It's supposed to be the sort of canonical DeFi DEX for Althea L1. So people come there, they use it like they might expect a last generation DeFi chain, but it's also designed for machine to machine use. And that is where we get into some of the cooler functionality related to swapping and pools. So the iFi DEX is a modified version of ambient DEX with a lot of improvements we've added on top of it ourselves, with the goal of making it easier to use for autonomous machines. So right now, DeFi has a lot of incredible capabilities, especially when it comes to swapping, lending, etc. But these are designed to be done by people. You have to be someone with a wallet with a ridiculous amount of infrastructure behind these websites to be able to do a swap. And the iFi DEX is focused on making that not the case, where machines can do an easy swap and have access to, for example, 1inch is a DEX aggregator. It helps you get the best trade across multiple DEX pools. But how would we create a DEX aggregator that works for machines and allows, say, for example, you have a bunch of vending machines and people are buying candy in euros, but you want to store your revenue in dollars, so they can automatically swap using the iFi DEX and keep it in dollar stablecoins instead. These sorts of automated functionalities really tie into the vision for infrastructure finance. As we're still using DeFi, we still use all these DeFi primitives, but we're applying them to new sorts of businesses and use cases, rather than just sort of tokenizing existing real world assets or building purely abstract crypto assets. So it's kind of a fusion of the RWA and DeFi space. So yeah, getting back to it, pools on the iFi DEX actually represent 3 different types of liquidity. This is what we call liquidity fusion, and it's what you might expect to see. For example, if you swap on 1inch or some sort of DEX aggregator, Slingshot maybe, you would see the aggregator will split your swap across multiple pools. It may pick a Uniswap v2 style pool, this concentrated liquidity Uniswap v3 style pool. It may mix 3 or 4 of them. With the iFi DEX, that's built into the pool itself. Each of these pools has 3 different types of liquidity that is coexisting. And that means that when you perform a swap, the routing is less complicated because you can still get that multi-liquidity efficient execution without going through, without having to have the extra layer of a router on top of the extra layer of, okay, which pools are we actually swapping on? And why is this important? Why do we care about this? This is not that important if you are thinking of DeFi in the traditional way, where you have people going to websites and swapping with wallets. But reducing the layers of abstraction and increasing the simplicity is really important if you're going to have sort of automated machine swapping, because you need a lower failure rate. You need things to work more reliably and happen more often, and you need it to operate without causing trouble for the user. For this sort of for iFi to be useful, it must be transparent. So if you need to constantly do something to make it work, or like, oh, this this like RPC or backend server is down and that's going to be a problem, that's a no-go. So this is really what we've done with the iFi DEX, is that we have made ambient much easier to interact with, and gone from a situation where you need a full archive node, a full Ethereum archive node, and a graph storage node, and about 4 terabytes of storage to get the right information to do a swap for a DEX that's been around for, let's say, a year, to now where with the iFi DEX so we forked from ambient. With ambient, you need that many terabytes of storage and all these complicated servers to do an effective swap. With the iFi DEX, our fork, you can do the same thing in about 30 megabytes of storage, using only a standard node. So you don't need archives, you don't need the entire block history, you can search much more effectively. And now, instead of all of these smart vending machines or smart routers or something like that, being dependent on this huge amount of very delicate infrastructure to perform a simple swap and get this efficiency, it's all gone. There is just the on-chain contract, which even low power embedded devices can query directly, perform a swap directly, and generally do everything themselves without a huge amount of backend support. So let's see. So that's the why. So now I'm going to show you the interface that you might be more familiar with as sort of a DeFi native crypto user. This is, the Althea link interface is the front end for Althea L1 DeFi. It's not the only use of these pools, but it's the perspective that we're going to be presenting today and what's going to be all set up on launch. Although all of this will be working on launch, but more, this is the part that you'll go and see, and it'll be fun to click around at least. So as you can see here, we have all the different estimated. So this estimates retrospective fees on these pools for different types of positions. So as you can see, we've got 3 different widths: concentrated position, ambient position, which is a Uniswap v2 style LP, which is the whole pool, and it tells you what sort of fee APR you can expect, or fee APR has existed over the past 30 days. That's no guarantee of what people may do in the future, because people need to swap to generate fees. We have various different pools here, different types of liquidity to add. And because of our sort of efficient backend design, you can actually see every pool in the, every position in the DEX in a very quick to load format. So next update to this, we're going to have a nice graph, a bunch of cool visualizations of this data. But for the release version, we are coming back with, for the release version, we're coming out with, okay, here is the raw data. We're going to format it a little bit prettier later, but the information is here and available to the user, and easy to access, which is sort of what we're showing off with the DEX design. Now, when we've talked about Liquidity Fusion a little bit. What are the 3 types of liquidity available in each Althea L1, iFi DEX pool? So those are ambient liquidity, which is like Uniswap v2. So that is, you put in liquidity and it remains 50-50, half of the values in one token, half of the values in the other, indefinitely. Then there's concentrated liquidity, where you can set a price. So there's concentrated liquidity where you can set, your desired price and maintain liquidity in a much narrower range, which will net you a higher share of fees as long as the overall pool price remains in that range. So then there's the 3rd type of liquidity, which is knockout liquidity, which is actually called a limit order in this interface for the sake of simplicity. So knockout liquidity is, for anyone DeFi native, this explanation will make sense. Then I'll do a longer one. Imagine you put a concentrated liquidity position outside of the current price range, so it's all token A or all token B, and then when it finished changing over, when the price moved from one side of the position to the other, one side of the concentrated position to the other, it was automatically pulled from the DEX, liquidity. So for example, if I were to say, hey, I want to buy $100 worth of Althea, I can create a position, it's called a knockout position, or you can think of it like a limit order because it functions like one, below the current price with my $100 in USDC. Then when the Althea price finishes crossing that liquidity, finishes crossing that sort of limit order barrier, I will be able to come and claim my filled position, although none of my test positions are filled right now. So what makes this really interesting? Well, if you go to Uniswap or something, they don't really have limit orders. Well, they have something that they call limit orders. And what that is that it's a swap that executes at a later time. So if the pool has $1,000 in liquidity and you want to do a $1,000 swap, you're in trouble, and nothing can really help you there. But with knockout liquidity, because it's a liquidity in the pool, you can do an unlimited sized limit order, knockout order, however you want to phrase it here, and get successful execution. You won't get any slippage. You'll get the price that you specify. In exchange, you just have to wait for it to finish executing, however long that may be. So it provides a trade-off between sort of time and efficiency. So whereas other DEX protocols are always instant, so they always give you a swap in a small amount of time, but they do not give you but they may not give you efficiency depending on the size of the pool. With the iFi DEX, you have both options. You can do a normal swap at the current price, and you will get the results immediately, or you can do a knockout position, which is a limit order at a different price, and you'll get the best possible execution, but with an uncertain completion time. The upside of this is that you're not limited by the liquidity already in the pool. You don't pay fees because you pay fees to liquidity providers. And when you do a knockout liquidity position or a limit order, you are a liquidity provider. So you actually earn fees instead. And yeah, it provides a really sort of efficient alternative to more traditional DEX swapping that's sort of combines the best of a bid-ask market with a automated market maker. Yeah, so as you can see from the interface here, we have, so this is an active position. So this is a knockout liquidity position that is not finished executing. So it's partially executed. And you can see here that put in this much test BTC. And at the end, when it finishes executing, I'll have this much Althea. But right now, I still have this much test BTC, and I only have this much Althea in my position. So I could either close it, take out what I already have, take out the liquidity in its current split, or I can wait for it to finish executing. Yeah, so let's pause for questions for a minute, because I know I've thrown a lot of different information out there, and I hope it's been useful and also reasonably accessible. Once again, I would like to recommend that people take a look at the blog posts or the white paper, and feel free to direct questions my way. I'll be happy to answer.
One question that I've been kind of looking around on some of the different forums and so forth to see if anyone had any specific questions. But one thing that has come up just in the course is about validating on the Althea blockchain itself. For those that want to get started, and then if you want to point them to the docs, or just have a few things to mention on that front. Of course, validating on Althea is permissionless. And we welcome everyone to join on that side. But yeah, I think that's really kind of all the questions we have at the moment.
Cool. So yeah, validating on Althea 1 is permissionless. You only need to run the validator software, and have at least and have actually any amount of Althea will do. I believe the minimum's like 1 millionth or one token. So the maximum number of validators that the chain allows is a parameter. I think it's like 75. I don't think it's full right now. So once the chain unlocks, anybody who can get access to Althea can be a validator. You'll find more information about that on the Althea Foundation GitHub under the Althea L1 docs repo, which will instruct you how to set up a validator. And also just, apply, well, the docs have all the normal warnings, but as a validator, you do have responsibilities to maintain uptime, as well as not leak your private key or the funds that you delegate or stake for your validator will be subject to slashing. So you should always read the fine print and understand what you're doing before you start a validator.
Very cool. Well, yeah, and we're going to be ending our community call relatively quickly here, just kind of wrapping things up, because we have a group of testnet participants that have agreed to let us do some one-on-one testing with them to kind of do some final polish. And like I said, if y'all want to be involved, definitely jump in the Discord. We'd be happy to have you. and work together with y'all on that front. But yeah, I think it's an exciting time. Obviously, we're wrapping up kind of the final stages here, so stay tuned and be a part of the ecosystem there in Discord forum. We have the Twitter at Althea Network, and stay tuned for next week.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Hope to talk to you soon.